was going to say about tonight, if you would stand your red church children, turn to page 150, the dearest friend I ever had. Page number 150.
Church this winter night, spring night, I guess you would say. I think as me and Lisa was talking about it, I think spring has sprung out of here. That's what happened. But anyway, March the 22nd, that's on a Thursday, study of the King James Bible at Mount Sinai Baptist Church. That's from 7 to 8. Saturday, March the 24th, Easter egg hunt at Victory Baptist Church from 11 to 1. And the Women of Faith meeting at Gloucester Baptist Church from 1 to 3. See Miss Carla? She's shaking her head. Yes, see her. I try not to, but y'all can. All right, Saturday, 31st of March, the Easter egg hunt here at the church. That'll be from 11 to 1. And then the Easter sky singing here at the church on Sunday night, April the 8th at 5 to 6. And then the men's prayer breakfast at Victory Baptist Church, Saturday, 21st, 8 to 9:30. I missed something, didn't I? Now, what about Easter, preacher? We're announcing that later? I don't know the details, but okay. Preacher will take care of the Easter service and what's going on then. So anyway, it's good to see everybody out tonight. Brother Danny, how about you lead us in prayer? Yes. Amen. You can be seated.
All right, you guys can turn to page number 50 in the Sweet Forever. Page number 50. Here we go first. What a in the song somewhere. No more to roam through eternity, no separating. Every heart will then be satisfied. It will all be joy in that sweet home. Beautiful city, some happy day, where the river of love goes ebbing by. Look upon the beauty, fades out away, and happy will be while the ages fly. Page number 110, the Heavens Jubilee. Here we go first. Some glad morning we shall see Jesus in the air, coming after you and me, joys ours to share. What rejoicing there will be when the saints shall rise, headed for that jubilee yonder in the skies. Oh, what singing, oh, what shouting, on that happy morning when we all shall rise. Oh, what glory, hallelujah, we'll meet our blessed Savior in the sky. Let's sing it. Seems that now I almost see all the sainted dead, rising for that jubilee that's just ahead. In the twinkling of an eye, chained with him to be, all the living saints do fly to that jubilee. Oh, what singing, oh, what shouting, on that happy morning when we all shall rise. Oh, what glory, hallelujah, we'll meet our blessed Savior in the skies of glass. When with all that heavenly host we begin to sing, singing the Holy Ghost, out hymns will ring. Millions they will join the song, with them we shall be, praising Christ through ages long, in the jubilee. Oh, what singing, oh, what shouting, on that happy morning when we all shall rise. Oh, what glory, hallelujah, we'll meet our blessed Savior in the skies. All right, if you don't mind standing and turn to page 380, we'll sing the first verse and have a little fellowship. No, wait, that's not it. Everybody will be happy with that. Page number 180. Page number 180. We'll sing first verse and have a little fellowship. First, here we go. There's a happy land of promise over in the great beyond, where the saints of earth shall soon the glory share, where the souls of men shall enter and live on forevermore. Everybody
every sparrow that falls. Made the mountains and the seas, is in control of everything, of all creatures great and small. He knows my name, every step that I take, every move that I make, every tear that I cry. He knows my name when I'm overwhelmed by the pain, can't see the light of day. Know I'll be just fine, 'cause he knows my name. Don't know what tomorrow may bring. I can't tell you what's in store. I don't know a lot of things. I don't have all the answers to the questions of life, but I know in whom I have believed. He knows my name, every step that I take, every move that I make, every tear that I cry. He knows my name when I'm overwhelmed by the pain, can't see the light of day. I know I'll be just fine, 'cause he knows my name. He knew who I was when he carried my cross. He knew that I would fail him, but he took the loss. He knows my name, every step that I take, every move that I make, every tear that I cry. He knows my name when I'm overwhelmed by the pain, can't see the light of day. I know I'll be just fine, 'cause he knows my name.
That's your son. God help. Like that, amen. Then God help. All right. Right quick, I will go over what our big plans on Easter will be. There's still going to be breakfast. And still going to be sunrise service, but I mean, it's sunrise service. We're going to be there watching it come up. Carla's excited. She can't hardly contain herself. She's a morning person. Y'all should come over. I am a morning person. Give me just a few minutes, I'm good to go. Look in there. I laid my phone down somewhere. Is it? Oh. That's pitiful, ain't it? He knows where my stuff is more than I do. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. But for years, Daddy has done a sunrise service at like 6 or 6:30. And we tried to back it up. And then have our 11 o'clock service, and they back it up. You know what I mean? And it works real well. We've had good crowds in both services. Because if you try to do both, it's hard. You know what I mean? To try to do everything at one place. And Daddy and them have always, after the sunrise, they go to Golden Corral and eat. And him and another fella in the church, well, my daddy-in-law, they try to make sure that if anybody can to come and they pay for it or whatever. And it can get expensive because eating over there is not cheap. So the plan is, if I don't get crucified, we're going to try to back their sunrise service at 6 if you can get there. I know a lot of us are excited, so try to contain it. And it'll be good if you can get there. It's always a good service. It really is. It's a good service. And then we're going to have the breakfast here. They're going to leave there and come here. So we'll have some here prepping and getting everything ready for the breakfast here. And we're going to try to go all out. I don't know what my problem is. I can't do anything normal. You know what I mean? I don't know what is the matter with me. But I told Daddy, I said, man, we'll fix a nice breakfast. We'll go all out. We'll make it off the chain. And while I'm talking, it sounds great. And then I walk off and I think, God, I've done it again, you know. But we're going to do that here in the fellowship hall. So right after the sunrise service, everybody that's there will come here. We'll have breakfast. We'll have a little break. We probably will not be having the Sunday school hour on Easter Sunday, so we can just come to the 11 o'clock service. So give us a little time, get a little rest, and then come back to the 11 o'clock service here. And I promise you, it'll be a good crowd because, like I said, it always is. I hope everybody's okay with that. You know, if you want to cook breakfast and you don't want to go that 6 o'clock, you can come here a little later and cook. But I hope everybody will try anyway. But it is a good service. Carl, I'll tell you, it's always been a good service over there for Dad. And I am a church person. I like to back other churches. You know what I mean? I just do. And Daddy and them need the support. They do. They need the uplift. And I'm not saying that critically, but they need a boost. And so any chance we get to encourage another church, I'm going to take that shot. I can't help myself. I just do. And by helping do the breakfast, that I like using our facilities. You know what I mean? In our fellowship hall, we've been very blessed with that fellowship hall, and I like to use it any chance we get. I do. So we'll get to use it, and hopefully everybody will have a good time. Once you're here, I promise, once you get there, it's good. You'll be all right. It's getting to that point. You know what I mean? And when we lived in Jackson County, my goodness, that was a rough run, brother. You're talking about 45 minutes to an hour one way, so we was up early. You know what I mean? And but we always made it. Always had a good time, and you know, and hey, what y'all could do is just hook up, bring it down here. Hey, that's pretty good there now. Hey, that worked. Let's all get campers and we'll all just camp out at Victory. Oh, yeah, that would be good. There you go, man. Oh, that would work, wouldn't it? I'd love to see Daddy's face. He'd pull up his parking lot, about 4 or 5 campers out in his parking lot. But, oh, but anyway. Oh, yeah, there you go. We'll get tents. We'll just camp out in the yard and everything. But no, this is going downhill quick, but it will be a good time, and I promise you'll have a good time. And so be planning for that. There was something else. We're moving along with the bathroom project. It's looking good. It's coming along. By the weekend, it's really going to be come a long ways, Lord willing. Everything, Brother Eric Massey, man, he's been coming every day, and the sheetrock's looking incredible. If you hadn't looked at it, it's really looking good. And they started on the hardwood floors, Brother Cody and Brother Justin last night. I've got all the dividers at another shop being painted for the stalls. They're being handled. And this Saturday, Friday night and Saturday, we'll probably have some stuff in the basement getting trim painted in the doors so that we can start hanging them and get them up as quickly as possible. And I got a text, and I don't know yet, so they're texting me. Y'all need to get on to them. But anyway, yeah, I know it's her fault. But look at that look. Smile, honey. Anyway, we are probably, and I was going to kind of bring this before the church, and I hope it'll be all right, but we had set a budget around $500, okay? And thankfully, the Lord's blessed us the last several weeks. I mean, really blessed us. and we're doing well. You know what I mean? I'm very thankful for that. But we're going to probably go over that budget. But like I said, in light of how we've been blessed, we just want to do it right if we could. We was going to try to not do the floors. And there was something else. We wasn't going to mess with the sink, I think is what we had said, or something like that. I can't remember. But if everybody's okay with us finishing it right, it's going to cost us probably another, what do you think? Because I done hit the budget probably already. Well, close. Not quite, but close. Yeah, and we broke a toilet. No, I took a picture of one on the front porch. I said, hey, with the throne. But anyway, I'm trying to think. We're going to buy enough paint as well, though, for other projects like the gloss white and the wall paint. I'm going to get it by the 5 gallons, just a couple 5-gallon buckets of each. Well, that'll save a little right there now, I guarantee you. Brother, we can do that. So we can take care of that.
Just go to the store and they probably won't do brushes, but they'll probably do all the paint.
Shoot, we can handle brushes, brother.
So, and they won't do paint. Whatever paint, go to the Sherwin store, figure out what you want, get me the rec numbers off of it. But if you want 5 gallons, 10 gallons, whatever you want, put it on the church letterhead, bring it to me, and I'll have that, take it in. It may take a couple of weeks to get it, but it's free.
Well, we'll just see what we can do then. We can get by for this time on this, but we'll go ahead and get that coming anyway. So that'll work, won't it? Absolutely. We're going to try to use the same color throughout. Okay. Well, we will definitely be getting, but that'll help a bunch. But we're going to go over the budget, I'm sure, that we had said. I think we said it, what, 500? Is that what we said? It's probably going to wind up double. That's what it's going to wind up, about $1,000. But believe it or not, in the past weekend, we had like a $2,000 donation to the church. So we're still not going to break the bank, you know what I mean? And we'll be able to do the floors, do the sink. It's just going to look good. I feel good about it. Everybody that's in favor of doing that is okay with that. If you would, raise your hand. Let me see to make sure everybody's okay. Okay, that's the majority. Any opposed? Okay, that's good. So we're okay. All right, so at least I got it covered anyway. But, and I know nobody would say anything, but I feel better just making sure everybody knows what's going on and that we're okay. So, Lord willing, by Easter Sunday, that will be done back there, and it'll be looking really good and nice and clean and updated, and then we'll move on to the next project. So we got plenty of projects. Let's see. Thought there was something else. I can't think right now. Maybe it'll come. Huh? Oh, yeah. We were very famous for just a little while. Was it Monday night? A Jeep Cherokee. When I heard that, I was wondering, where was Miss Linda? But anyway, a Jeep Cherokee run off the road, broke the pole slap in half across over there in front of the ball field. And when it did, it jerked our power line slap off this building, off the fellowship hall. I mean, jerked them slap down. And so I hung around to make sure nobody did anything, because we were the road for just a little while. They literally, I got pictures of cars just flowing through the parking lot. And somebody said, set up a toll booth. I wish I'd have had that toilet out. I'd have got it out and sat down on the toilet right there in front of them and just waved. That would have been good. But, and somebody said, well, he's on the throne. But anyway, I was a little late on getting that out there. But they got it all back up before I left. I just want to make sure it got done and everything was well. And we got to work in the outside part. That's what I was going to do too. Probably not this week, but at some point between now and next week, we'll be working in the flower beds, trying to get with flowers and some mulch and pine straw and all that good stuff that goes with it. We got to do a little pressure washing and a little dolling up on the edges where some of the cars, it's not wide enough down there for two-lane traffic, but we had two-lane traffic. I'm talking about semis coming through here, and I was holding my breath with a few of them come swinging through, you know, and literally they were almost hitting the flower beds in front of the porch. And so that was exciting. I said, well, this is one time I would definitely be scared to death if we come out of church to this. So, but we made it. We got through. So they got everything fixed back up. So I've already talked to Brother JC about down there at the road. So if you see that it's tore up down there, the power trucks literally got stuck and had to be winched out by the sign. I knew Danny would be excited. But don't worry about Dan. I've already talked to JC. We'll get some dirt. You know, let them slick it up a little bit, and we'll seed it and straw it. No need to even fight with it because it's just a mud hole right now. So, but don't worry, it's going to get took care of. So, anyway, you can turn to. Let me make sure I'm right here. I think it was Acts. Yeah, Acts 26 is where I was Sunday night. There's something here I just wanted to zero in on. And be praying, though, about everything that's coming up. April is going to be the whole month of hopefully doing something different every single weekend. From Sunday school competition to trying to, I've got it all written down. We're going to be rising up in song. We got a group coming one Sunday in that month. We're going to be rising up in missions. We got a missionary going to be coming. And they'll be bringing several with them. It'll almost be a one-day missions conference, you know. And a lot of things coming up in April. And somebody said, why April? I don't know. It just seemed like the right month. And so we're going to be rising up in April going into May. The reason I'm so excited about May is when all the sickness is supposed to be completely finished. Yay, we're going to May up rising. Amen. Excited. Hopefully it won't have any snow or any more cold days in May. So I'm hoping for none of them in April, but who knows. This shocked me today. I got up, Carl asked me last night, you going to plug your truck up? I'm thinking, for what? I've been all day, you know, short sleeve shirt, no jacket. She said, well, it's supposed to be the high of like 40-something. I was like, you got to be kidding. So I about had enough cold weather, but anyway, it is what it is. Acts chapter 26, I read some of this Sunday night, and I want to go back and hit a few verses here. I'm going to start in verse number 11 and listen to some of the things he's saying. Listen, somebody says, I can't talk to people about church or about God. This is what Paul is doing. This is the best example I can give you in your Bible of all you got to do when you witness to somebody. He's just telling what happened to himself. That's all he's doing. Tell somebody your testimony. You don't have to get your Bible out because they don't know about it anyway. You're wasting your time trying to show somebody a Bible or a book they don't know anything about. Tell them what God did for you. Talk to them about what's happened to you. The reason that we've gotten people in church is all they do is listen to you talk about what's going on at the church house. That's how you win people to the Lord, is tell them about what He's doing. So, verse 11 says, and I punished them often in every synagogue and compelled them to blaspheme, and being exceedingly mad against them, I persecuted them even unto strange cities. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority of the commission from the chief priest, at midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven, above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me, and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me, saying in Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. But rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which thou hast seen, and of those things in which I will appear unto thee, delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles unto whom now I send thee, to open their eyes, and to turn them from darkness to light, and from power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins, and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith, that is in me. Whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient unto the heavenly vision, but shewed first unto them of Damascus and at Jerusalem and throughout all the coast of Judea, and then to the Gentiles, that they should repent and turn to God and do works meet for repentance. For these causes the Jews caught me in the temple and went about to kill me. Having therefore obtained help of God, I continue unto this day, witnessing both to small and great, saying none other things than those which the prophets and Moses did say should come. That Christ should suffer, and that he should be the first that should rise from the dead, and should shew light unto the people and to the Gentiles. And as he thus spake for himself, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, thou art beside thyself. Much learning doth make thee mad. But he said, I am not mad, most noble Festus, but speak forth the words of truth and soberness. For the king knoweth of these things, before whom I speak freely. For I am persuaded that none of these things are hidden from him. For this thing was not done in a corner. King Agrippa, believest thou the prophets? I know that thou believest. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, Almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian. And Paul said, I would to God that not only thou, but also all that hear me this day were both almost and altogether such as I am, except these bonds. Now, you read that a couple times. You need to look at things. I've said this. If you want to get and read your Bible through in a year, that's fine, if you want to do that. But go back sometimes and study. Studying and reading are two different things. I can't stress that enough. Because if we're not careful, we'll get in a rut of reading, and you'll find yourself just trying to get through to the next verse and try to finish that chapter. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know I'm not the only one that's done that. You know what I mean? If we say, I'm going to read 3 chapters a day, and you'll do that, but you can't tell me anything about those 3 chapters when you're done. You see what I'm saying? What's more important? Volume or what we get out of it? You know what I'm saying? And this chapter right here, this particular section of verses, I've read several times, and every time I read it, it seems like I get a little more out of it. You can learn some of the parts, and then the next time you read it, the parts you've understood, you breeze through it, and you start noticing more things about the other verses. Well, you'll learn something else in a verse, and next thing you read, you'll go through those verses you've understood, and you'll get a little something else. You see what I'm saying? It takes time to study your Bible. It takes time to understand it. It's not going to come overnight. And a lot of times, God will lead you to a place that you don't even want to go. But if you'll just follow that leadership, you will learn something from it. You will. And don't worry, they're all right. But I like to see these kids. Hey, I'd like to see them in church. That just suits me fine. Little man over here with his grandmother and these two over here playing. Hey, I like it. They'll learn more than you know. But I noticed a couple things here where he goes on down to about verse 16. And Jesus, the voice says to him, get on your feet. I came unto you for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which thou hast seen, those things which I will appear unto thee, and delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles, unto whom now I send thee. And he's got to be delivered from people because he's been persecuting them. And if you go back and read where he was actually on the road to Damascus, he's scared to go in the city, and them people where he's coming is scared for him to come. They're like, hey, man, ain't this the guy that's been persecuting us? I mean, verbatimly, go back and read it. They're not excited that Paul is coming to their city. But they don't understand there's been a change. Now, that's good stuff. You know what I mean? He had the same name at this point, but he was not the same man. When the Lord shows up and he introduces himself to a person, there should be a change. It may not be drastic at first, but nevertheless, there should be a change. And Paul had to do some things he didn't want to do. He was scared. And now, if you go back and read, if I'm not mistaken, the Lord took his sight away. And he goes into a city of the people he's been persecuting. So it was an equal ground. They didn't realize at the time that when Paul was coming, he couldn't see. I don't believe it said to him. It just said, he's coming, take care of him. They didn't want him, but he was harmless because God had done took his eyesight. As soon as he got in there and they started doing business with God, the eyes cleared up and they went to work. I mean, that's the gist of it. And Paul, or Saul became Paul. I got that right? I get that? Yeah, make sure I get that in correct order. So now you got Paul, the Christian, that's going back to the people he once persecuted and trying to encourage them. Now this is what I find interesting. He's going into these people to help them, and they realistically should have been there to help get him in. You know what I'm saying? Saul was lost. And now all of a sudden, God's going to use him to help the people he once was persecuting. Someone said, how can this be? And I thought to myself, how come God didn't use everybody like this? How come God didn't use everybody that persecuted the children of God? Why didn't he change them all like this? Why didn't he use them all? You ever thought about that? The man that betrayed Jesus, Judas, why didn't he save him at the time? You know what I mean? Why? Why didn't Pharaoh at the time of things with Moses? Why? You know what I mean? Go back and look through your Bible. Why did these things have to happen? And I believe it comes down to that we all have a choice to make. And I believe honestly that Paul, when he was Saul, was doing what he thought to be right. If you go back and study, they had been taught that the priests were the authority. He had been through the schooling, through the training. About everything he was taught, he was doing what was right. And I believe God saw his heart was to try to do what he believed to be right. He just wouldn't believe in the right things. That's fair enough, isn't it? And I honestly believe when Stephen got stoned, that was the time that Saul began to get under conviction. I do. Saul's last person that I can recollect, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the last person that Saul had anything to do with the death of was Stephen. And after Stephen's when he went on the road to Damascus and saw the light and got saved himself. Through the death of one, another one was resurrected. You saw that. You know what I mean? Through one dying, another is raised. And I'm saying it like this. There's people you work with. There's people in your families. There's people in this world. There's people that we know. We tell ourselves there's just no way. We would not even consider some people. Now, don't you listen to me. There's some people you know that you're just not going to bring up God to. There's some of you, I guarantee you, everybody's got that somebody that you're just not going to witness to, but I wonder what they would do. You ever heard the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall? Saul was one that nobody wanted to witness to. Jesus had to do it himself. Conviction was brought on him by the death of a saint that had the power of God in his death. Are we willing to do that another could be saved? What is it? It talks about the power of a friend. A good friend, a real friend, is one that would lay his life down for his friend. Stephen died, but in his death, the conviction of Saul becoming Paul really made an impact on the church. It did. Paul knew things, and I'm saying this, I would like, and I know this sounds crazy, but there's a lot of churches growing right now from other churches. Just listen to me a minute. And I wouldn't be in them preacher's shoes for $1 million. They are sitting on a time bomb. Because unfortunately, most people don't leave a church because God told them to. Now, it has happened. I did. I honestly did. God said go, and we left, you know. I was not happy about it, but nevertheless, He's the boss. And something goes a little awry, a church blows up, and people leave. And instead of looking, now y'all know I'm telling the truth, you're going to love this. We don't have to worry about too many of them coming here because we're putting videos all over the internet of how much work we're doing. And most people that leave a church don't say, hot dog, look all that work. That's where I'm going. But you take a lost man, or you take somebody that's been cold on God for several years and is just hungry for a touch of God, you won't have to ask them to work. They can't wait to get there. They want to work because they found something new that has lifted them more than anything else. They're excited that they got something they never had before. I'd rather build the church on lost people getting saved than getting somebody else's problem. I don't know how else to put it. But if y'all have noticed, the church has hit a boost. And it's from people that once were in church, that were wounded or down. And they, over time, realized there was something missing. And they were wondering if it could ever be found again. And then they come here, and God touches them. We have people jumping pews. We got people getting saved, having a baptism. We're fixing up things. There's people that are renewing their first love. Now that's how you build a church right there. People that's hungry, not for what you got for the children, but for what you got from God. That want to learn about God and feel His love and His presence and want to learn about His Word, not because of self-gain, but because of what He can do for others. Amen. You build a church from those things. It's not about convenience. Amen. It's not about finding the closest one. I'm sure Dave and several others could find a bunch of churches between their house and here. But it's what God said is what matters. It's what God can do is what will get the job done. That's what our children need, is a touch from God. Somebody said, that might scare my children. I want my boy to be raised watching people run the aisles and people get an altar, and the drunkard that nobody wants get an altar and get saved, and see them cleaned up and run a bus ministry, and bus kids come in and lead the choir. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. Saul and Paul, that's what you got. It was the worst one they could have gotten. Became the best one they could have gotten. We need to open our eyes. Go for the big fish. Huh? If we was hunting, I wouldn't want the small one. We go fishing, we don't go for the small ones. But when it comes to church and God's business, we go for the smallest ones we can get, and we let the big fish get away. I say, let's quit messing with the crappy and go for the good. Amen. Huh? Let's go for the good. Let's don't get the bottom feeders. Let's get the big fat ones that taste good. Amen. What are we? We say we have faith in God, but we won't even give Him a chance. We're cutting His legs off before He ever gets a chance to do anything. What would be more exciting of a testimony? Telling how somebody got saved that you thought couldn't be saved? Or somebody that you knew lived a better life than you actually lived and got them in? Think about what I'm saying. I want to see Him do something that ain't nobody else seen done. I'm saying I want to find some more Sauls and make some more Pauls. They can do things. Jesus had a purpose for him. And he could tell, because what does the Bible say God looks on? The heart. He could tell. He could do something with him. And I believe he knew before he ever spoke, he going to listen. He had a familiarity with the Lord's voice. Through the other saints, he had been persecuted. I believe he's seen God do some things. It done stuck him in the heart. Hog Mountain hit some hard licks. But through those licks, you mark my words, somebody said, man, they just don't give up. It has touched people. Through your suffering, you'll touch people. Listen to what I'm saying. It's this is a terrible example. It's the only one I got. Y'all have all seen the Rocky movies, right? You know. Adrian, you know. He's always the underdog, right? He's the guy that, instead of having the ring and the boxing rings to train, he's beating up on steaks and meat hanging in a warehouse, And instead of having a place to go jogging, he's running down the streets and everybody, go Rocky, And of course the steps. Everybody likes the steps, you know what I'm saying? Runs up them steps, And he's won before he ever won. You know what I'm saying? That underdog situation, And I'm telling you, those are the kind of situations we can see right here in Hog Mountain Baptist Church. They've seen us struggle. They've seen the hardship. And believe it or not, people will get in behind that when they see us fighting to keep going. People like that situation. Why do you think they get so excited when we do the videos? It sure ain't because of the human paint shaker, which I thought that was one of our better ones, old Danny back there. Catch us at 11 o'clock at night and you're liable to see anything. And so we got him grabbing that big old 5-gallon, the human paint shaker. But people love that kind of stuff. They watch us work and they see us doing things. And they can tell by looking at us, we're just hard-working poor folk, but look what God's doing. And then a month later, we show the rooms we were once working on full of kids. It excites them to think, wow, that's pretty neat. They're like, look at that. Them rooms look so rough, and they had to fix them. And now, look, they're full of kids and lively and bright. That's the kind of stuff we're shooting for. Paul was that kind of guy. Once the man that was the evil one now has found love, and people love that. They're like, man, look at this guy. He used to be the guy killing people. Now he's helping them. Now he's raising them up. Now he's one of them. Had to be something to it, or they wouldn't be doing this. Stay with me. He says, open their eyes from darkness to light, from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. He goes on to saying, whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to this heavenly vision, but he did what he was told to do. As uncomfortable as it may have been, he did it anyway. God's going to ask you to go into a place of non-comfort. You ever heard the box? Y'all know what I'm talking about. We don't like to get out of our box, our safety zone. We don't like to get out of our safety zone. Some people are like that about eating. They don't like to go to certain places. It gets out of their safety zone. I'm not one of those people. If it's edible, I'm going to give it a shot. I mean, it's just the way it is. Hey, I remember a food truck. You're going to love this story. I was working in Norcross. This food truck said $1 tacos. Now, me and Scott, I'm thinking $1 tacos, I can eat a bunch of tacos for $1. You know what I mean? Man, I can get a bunch, $10, 10 tacos, what a deal. So I go up to this truck, and she's talking to the guy in front of me, and they're and I don't know what they're saying. I'm thinking, oh boy, this might be a little more difficult than I thought. So he gets done, and I said, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3. I was like, 3 tacos. She said, is that all you want? I busted out laughing. I was like, you got me that time. I said, you got me. But, I've done all that stuff. But until you try something, you don't know. Till you get out of that comfort zone, you don't know what you might be missing. Certain people will not get on a cruise ship. Buddy, I don't like to get off of them myself. Praise God, if I was a missionary, that's what I'd want to be. The missionary to the cruise lines. Praise the Lord. Missionary to Hawaii. Woo! Anyway, that's not going to happen. But if I had never stepped out of my comfort zone of water and fear of those, I'd never got the experience. And I'm telling you, God's got experiences for each and every one of you in your life and places you go. The last person you've ever thought about asking about church, you need to ask. Today, Brother Justin went to the tag office or something. I don't remember the first one you went. The what? The driver services. And he said it was just amazing how it all went. So usually them people are kind of ill. And sometimes they are. And he said before it's over, the lady shakes his hand and says she's going to come check us out because she drives by this church on her way to work every day. And the conversation, now if he'd went in there just business-like and said, this ain't about you, this is business, it would have been a whole different scenario. But it wasn't. He took that opportunity that was just given to him. Are you looking for those opportunities? He goes on to say, he says, for these causes the Jews caught me in the temple and went about to kill me, having therefore obtained help of God. I continue unto this day witnessing to both small and great. You might be surprised. Through somebody small, you might wind up getting to talk to somebody you never thought you'd get to talk to that's really up there. You know what I mean? You got to consider, he started out with people that hated his guts. Now, I'm going to say he wasn't excited about it. But to know he was getting brought before King Agrippa, I'd say he was pretty excited. He was a jailbird, but he got to go to the king. He didn't even have to pay to get there. They took care of all his transportation needs. Food and beverages included. He was in jail, but even the jailers even You could tell by the way they talked to him. They knew they could trust him. They knew he was an innocent man. And they took care of him. Why? Because God was with him. We don't want to go to jail, do we? But I got to tell you, I would like to think I could be like Paul and Silas if I did get locked up. Could sing along, have people singing with me. That'd be fun now. If I could get locked up one time at the county jail, and if you ain't never been in there, it's a big old thing. It is a little unnerving when you hear that clunk behind you. It does not ease your mind. And it'd be neat, though, to think you could get in there and just start singing some old hymns, and them old boys start listening and singing along with you. Could you imagine what that would be like? Get in there. Brother Pelock, do you know him? Okay, Richard? He goes to the jails and prisons, and they go into the ladies' prisons and men's prisons. They've had hundreds of people getting saved, and I don't mean by repeating some verse. He's old-fashioned. He'll go up, if you get up in North Georgia, he'll get out on the street and preach. And just recently, he was out there preaching. Some teenagers was walking by. And he said they thought they were going to stop to poke a little fun, but before it was over, one of them had a little tear in the eye, and he wound up seeing one of them get saved on the street. You know why you don't do that? Because we don't have that enough. We don't have enough of it. You don't preach on the street unless you better have the deal, son. You better have the real deal. I remember I was in a meeting up in the mountains. Sammy Allen. How many know Sammy Allen? I know some of you did. Good night. Some of y'all don't know Sammy? Oh, my goodness. Sammy Allen been around forever. He can quote more scriptures than I can read. That bird is unreal. But he tickles me. He'll grab somebody and drag them all over the church when he's preaching. Well, I was that guinea pig one night. Logan was a little kid, and he didn't like it. Logan was concerned about his daddy. I was getting drug all over that church. And old brother Sammy, he'll say, "Thus saith the Lord," you know. And if you're on that hand, you hold on, son. And he drugged me all over the place. Then he said, "All the young preachers, stand up." You know, and that's just how he does. Stand up, you know, like that. And I'm like, I'm already here, man. And so I'm thinking, oh, God, what we're going to do now? And Daddy knew. Daddy was kind of chuckling. Daddy knew what was happening. He said, "I can go outside and preach." And I'm like, "Who are we going to preach to?" So we went outside and ran around the parking lot preaching. I mean, one old boy was better at it than the rest of us. So I kind of followed him around. I'm wondering, when do we go back in? But, you know, awkward situation. Somebody said, "Well, what was that?" Well, that's craziness. But then there's a story, and I bet you've heard this one before. Can't remember the preacher. It'd come to me in a little while. But there was a preacher said that one day he was on his farm. It may have been Billy Kelly. I can't remember. Anyways, he was on the back part of his property doing some work, and the Lord laid it on his heart to start preaching right there in the middle of his pasture. And he's like, "Lord, why not?" He said, "Just preach." He said, "Boy, it was pressing him." He said, "So I preached." He said, "Son, hell hot and eternity long." He said, "Boy, it felt good." He said, well, he went on back. A few years went by. He was in a church service. And they were having testimonies, you know, one of them good services. And this fella stands up and he said, "I just feel like I need to share my testimony, preacher." And the pastor of the church said, "Go ahead, brother." He said, "I was lost as I could be." And he said, "I was just to the end of my rope, didn't know what else to do." He said, "I was back there on the back of my property, didn't know what in the world. I was praying, asking God to do something, show me something." He said, "I didn't know what to do." He said, "About that time, I heard some preaching." He said, "I didn't know where it was coming from, but it was preaching to me." He said, "By the time he got done, I was on my knees praying, got saved." And he said, "Ever since I've been in church, God's been using him. I believe he even called him to preach." And after service, that preacher got together and found out that was where he was. Now, you may not know what you're doing, but God's got a plan. Now, wouldn't you like to have been a part of that? But you got to be in an awkward position. You got to be the person in the field willing to preach, whether he's there or not. You got to be the person willing to say, "Hey, it may not seem like any sense. It may not make any sense, but I'm going to do what God tells me to do nevertheless." Don't you want to have those experiences? I do, but it's going to cost me. It's going to take some awkward moments to have those real, powerful experiences. Are we ready? Are we willing? Try him. Wouldn't you love to have that experience? that somebody'd say, man, I was out there and I heard him. I mean, anyway, you keep going. Last thing, I think it was right up here near the end. When Festus screams out that he's crazy from too much learning. And he says, no, I speak forth words of truth and soberness. He goes further to say, the king knoweth of these things, before whom also I speak freely, for I am persuaded that none of these things are hidden from him, for this thing was not done in a corner. That's where it was. That's where it was. It wasn't done in a corner. You hear what I'm saying? Now here's the thing that's going to be a little tough for us. You can't do things always in a corner. Listen to me. When you're at work and you're eating lunch and there's a bunch in the break room and we want to say our little quiet little prayer, that's okay. But that's almost taking your light and hiding it under a bushel. The problem we run into, now this is going to sting a little, but I know about it because I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. Most of the time, we're not bold enough to say a blessing over our food or say anything about God because we haven't been living right up to that point. We lost our temper that day. Have a little trouble getting to the table, then going to pray. Because we're afraid somebody's going to say, I thought that was you just a minute ago, was out there. You know, we don't want to hear that. So you're going to have to be careful. You know what I mean? There was a guy come up, got some stuff out of a couple of my bins, and I said, you sorry rascal? I said, go to Parts and get your own. I said, like the rest of us do. And I can't remember how I said it, but I said it kind of harsh, you know. And that young guy, you know, and they laughed a little bit because I picked at him. But I actually went back to that kid, and the other guy could hear me across. I said, you can't order your stuff anymore, can you? He says, no, I have to get it when the car's, he's on a different system. I said, I guess that's a little hard. I said, I hate that. I tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll start getting a couple extra cans of that stuff, and you can get mine. And I said, I'll keep my stock, and you can get a few along. I said, that work out for you? He's like, yeah, I appreciate it. And the other guy could hear him, of course, the other guy's still going on. Oh, got to get took care of by the preacher. You know, he's just aggravating him good. But my part, I wanted to make sure so when I am in that break room, I got to where now, it don't matter where I go eat or where I'm at. I said, all right, boys, I got to say the blessing right quick. And I let them know I'm going to say it with or without them. But I make sure they know I want just a minute to say my prayer. You know what I'm saying? It may be the only shot I get at them, but I'm going to take it. But if I don't live right up to that point, somebody's going to get angry at me and say, I don't want to hear what he's got to say because he ain't nothing but a hypocrite. What are you saying, preacher? Good things come at a high price. And I wish I could say it's always been this way with my life, but it hasn't. You know what I mean? I remember several jobs I couldn't do this because somebody would tell the dirty joke and I would laugh. Things I shouldn't have been doing, I was doing. It wasn't that bad. It was just not good. Wasn't what a Christian should have been doing. It's taken me a long time. But at least now they call me preacher, not because I told them to. It's just the name that has stuck. What, and now y'all have heard me say this, and I'm going to wrap it up here. I want you to go back and I want you to study some of this. I've said this before. If we went to your family and asked what kind of person this person, Christian person, what is this person like? Most of our family, out of respect and honor of us being family, would give a good answer. Some wouldn't, but some would. But I'm not interested in your family or your children or your wife or your husband. I'm interested in what the people you work with would say. What would the neighbors that live in the neighborhood with you say? Would they say, yeah, they seem to be good people, seem to be always smiling, always nice. Our yard, we have it treated, and we also get it treated from the neighbors. Cute little dog poops in my yard. And I'm telling you now, you go out there and you smile. You want to drop kick that dog, you know what I mean? Oh, did you lose your dog? I'll try to aim. It was good. No. You're going to have to take a few things. We got dogs behind us that bark all the time. And I am considering getting a night vision BB gun with a good scope. And even if it don't shut them up, I'll feel better. Every night I hear them, I'll say, oh yeah, he got it that time. You want to deal with these things. But here's the question. Do you want to be a Christian or do you want to be justified in this flesh? There's no other choices. Well, preacher, it ain't right they do me that way. Nope. But it ain't fair that only us get to go to heaven when we were just as sorry as the rest of them. And truth be known, if it wasn't for God, we'd be doing just as bad, if not worse, than the people we're talking about. A person that's lost don't respect their neighbors. But Christians ought to love them and try to win them. I got a neighborhood behind me. I want us to. That may be another bus route before it's over. And I can't go in there saying, yeah, I live right behind you with a bad reputation. So I'm asking you to go check some things out. If we come to your neighborhood representing the church, is it going to be good? Or are they going to say, oh, they go? Those are Christian. You know what I'm saying? If we go to the people on the job, are they going to say the same thing? Preacher, they mistreat me on the job. Let me tell you something. You might well get used to it. It is never going to change. Now, he's in the gravy train right now. He's hit a good place. But the only reason he hit a good place is because he knows what the other side's like. He's been through some hard times. Truth be known, had he started where he's at, he'd probably be griping about it too. Truth be known, Brother Scott, if I hadn't been through some of the places I've been, no telling what I'd be doing right now too. But I do stop myself and say, wait a minute now, this is still better than what I've had. You got to use Christian thinking. Y'all ever seen that WWJD? Ain't that how they put it? What would Jesus do? That's pretty good words to live by. A heated moment, you need to stop and ask yourself right quick, what would Jesus do? Some people, I'm not that kind of Christian, and you ain't much of a Christian. They treat me wrong on the job. What would Jesus do? Neighbor's dog is pooping in my yard. What would Jesus do? I'm not real sure about that one. Praise God, he's getting fired up over. I seen his granddaddy in him for just a second. And I'm just kidding. Hey, it's good to smile. But there'll be a lot more smiling if we were sitting here listening to people testify of how something in our lives got them to God. You want to see this church really on fire, you start winning some people. Get them in church one at a time. It ain't got to be a crowd, one at a time. Ain't nothing like it. I'm telling you, church, ain't nothing like it. There's a lot of things this world's got. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like things, you know, and I admit it. Some of it look good. I like boats. I like cars. I like it all. I do. Ain't nothing does for me what seeing somebody that's not in church and they're broken get in church and see them put it all back together. Man, ain't nothing like it. Why don't we stand to our feet? Are we covered? Anything else? Now remember, anybody that wants to work, we will be here. Somebody's been here every night doing something. Let's see. Yeah. We'll be here the next 2 nights, and probably Saturday too. I got to work half a day. I won't be here till after lunch. Saturday I got to work early. But we're going to try our best to get that thing ready to hit hot and heavy next week and finish it up and help Brother Danny in the yard work too. We ain't going to leave him hanging on that stuff. It's a lot of stuff. It's a big yard, a lot of flower beds, all that good stuff. So we got to help Brother Danny. And but when you can, come. If we get 2 or 3 at a time, it'll be fine. So if there's nothing else, anybody got anything else right quick? Don't worry, this Sunday's not Easter, so you got a whole another week to rest up and get ready for 6 o'clock. All right, if there's nothing else, let me get back here. All right, Brother Scott, you dismiss us in prayer, please.